sometimes you just got to look through your notes and figure out, where did I go wrong? Where did everyone else go wrong? I mean, not to go completely off track, but who would have thought that the Chiefs Super Bowls basically would just be rematches? They beat the 49ers, they lost to Tampa. Then they play the Eagles. Then they beat the 40, and then they beat the Eagles. Then they play the 49ers again, and then they beat the 49ers again. And then they play Philadelphia this weekend, and then this weekend or this year or last year, and they lost that time. Long story short, the Chiefs have always just done rematches, rematches, rematches. And this was the year that there was no even a hint of a rematch between San Francisco and Kansas City. Not even close. And looking through all the notes and everything, I think we all could agree. We all thought the Niners would at least made the playoffs. Maybe not win the division, but we thought they were going to win. No, no, no. We all thought they were going to the Super Bowl again. We all thought. Even I did. I was going for a 49ers Cincinnati type of Super Bowl. But that didn't happen for neither team. So, hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and welcome back. Today, we're continuing our NFC West deep dive of 2024 as the draft is slowly approaching over at Green Bay, Wisconsin, in Lambeau Field. So let's talk about a team that has owned the Packers for most of its franchise history, and let's make fun of them by making fun of the team that is now known as the bottom. Let's all be professional here. I will try my best. We're talking about the 49ers. So, for a show of hands, mainly my 49ers brothers and sisters out there, who would have thought the Niners would be bad? That's being nice. Bad. Like, I haven't seen this team be this bad since, like, the post-Jeff Garcia era. Bad. And that's also in passing the Kaepernick, who took the 49ers to a Super Bowl and NFC Championship game back to back. But then he literally disappeared his own career, so now we're back to 49ers, and then they, got Trey Lance, who didn't develop because, well, we kind of didn't need him. Then we got Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. What a great slogan. What a great Hollywood story. And he led to the NFC Championship game, got his arm basically ripped apart. And then he led to the Super Bowl, and they didn't do it. And now he's being criticized, rightfully or wrongfully, of, is he worth the money? I'm thinking, how many teams or how many quarterbacks from first round overall picks, I'm looking at them, have done what Brock Purdy's done, who was the last pick in the draft. Not 6th round, not 199, like the last one off the bus pick to take the 49ers, or hell, take any franchise to basically be a few plays away from winning a Super Bowl. If he would have beaten the Chiefs, his legacy would have knocked Kurt Warner off the pedestal as the greatest underdog story in NFL history. Tom Brady, yes, he got multiple rings, but guess what? Tom Brady wasn't the last pick in the draft. Hollywood would have written stories and stories and stories. NFL draft evaluation would have gone to a much more professional standards of stop ignoring just because they did not play at a certain big time school. It would have changed everything, if not already. But he has not, and now we're criticizing him as if he was the first overall pick, or at least a first round pick, wondering, is he worth the money? I'm sorry, Dak Prescott got paid the money, and he has not even won as many playoff games or gone as close to a Super Bowl as Brock Purdy did on a rookie deal. So, now that I've given the 49ers a bunch of praise, now we're gonna bring them down. You guys, I had your season a little bit better than you guys did it. I mean, you guys were kind of bad, and you were bad. You were bad. I had you guys 13-4 and 11-6 at worst. So basically, I said you would lose you would win no less than 11 games. You guys, on the other hand, you guys lost 11 games. You went 6-11. Wow. And those 11 should just be just two giant middle fingers for this season. This was bad, and I can't help but feel like, for those of you that remember the Madden curse, yeah, it's back. It is a requel to the Madden curse, as Christian McCaffrey got plagued with the wrath of the Madden curse. Or he had the worst case of injury bug in history. I am scared for this man's future because he's playing a position that by the time you reach 27, you're considered geezer old. And now you got this devastating injury off a fantastic season. I can't help to think that the argument is more about Brock Purdy's because Christian McCaffrey wasn't there to help carry the load. Not to mention your first round pick, Ricky Pearsall from Florida, got shot in the chest. How messed up would the season have been if your first pick in the draft, a wide receiver to help your young quarterback in Brock Purdy, is murdered? So telling me, this is the worst deal with the devil consequences I have ever seen. Honestly, it would have been more poetic if you guys were in Los Angeles, therefore that would have been a nice Hollywood exclusive story on the E channel. But no, we were in San Francisco, where quite frankly, it's almost kind of like a hate crime, apparently, to see how bad the 49ers got this. And it's not like the 49ers were cruel. They were literally playing a bad hand, and they kept saying, hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me. And to the point where it's like, is he mean add another card or like literally hit me? It was bad. But let's go to your best game. Because nothing makes me feel nothing makes me feel better than, well, pissing off Cowboy fans. So week 8 versus Dallas, that to me was your best game. Because it was like, when all else fails, at least you can beat Dallas. And neither Dallas nor San Fran were blowing people out of the water. They both were about basically a 500 in the time of this game. And this was kind of more of a test to see, okay, whose season is going the right way and whose season is going to make a turn. Because even at the time when they both were basically at 500, Dallas and San Francisco were given more credit than probably the Vikings, the Packers, the Bucks, the Falcons, the Seattle, like the Rams. Like Dallas and San Fran were already considered the top 4 teams in the NFC at this time. The team that actually won their divisions, won playoff game at the time of this game, was not even considered in the stratosphere of contention. That's how bad it was. So looking into it like that, this was the best game. It gave the illusion of hope. I mean, Purdy threw for 260, Prescott threw for 243, but Prescott threw those interceptions, so obviously it's his fault. George Kittle had 6 receptions for 128 yards, so once again, praise the tight end. So yeah, this was the game that, at least for the time being, we were thinking, okay, they're going through some struggle. I mean, there's no Christian McCaffrey, but they can do it. I mean, they only had 470 yards of offense. And Brock Purdy, maybe he is worth the money, because we'd have no Christian McCaffrey to bail us out this time. Maybe he is worth the money. So at the time, it was considered your best game for the level of theatrics, competition. Hopefully the season's not lost, so I had all that. But that was in week 8, halfway part of the season. So your worst week 15. This game was bad. It was bad. Weather was bad. Gameplay was bad. This was bad. This was preseason 4 game bad. Like, where all the fourth stringers, the undrafted rookies, are trying to prove a roster spot type of bad. A field goal game can always be viewed as great defense, sucky offense. And depends on where you stand on it, it could be problematic. I have seen professional level football where the field goal was scored in the first drive of the game and the final score was 3-0. I had to sit through a whole 3.5 hours of that. So that was fun. Then I had to, thank God I'm not a fan, but I have been in games where I had to watch my team win by field goals in a 12-9 game, and I've been on a time where I watch my team scores, touchdown, but they'll still lose the game 15-14 because we didn't stop them from scoring touchdown, but they got into field goal range every time, so they literally just, killed with 1,000 cuts. So yeah, this was bad because technically the score probably should have been 9-6. But the last field goal was just because they had to make a play and it was fourth down. They had to. So it wasn't like it was trying to rub it in their points. Honestly, 9-6 would have been more embarrassing than 12-6. At least you can give the illusion that maybe somebody scored a touchdown? No. No one did. Look at the stats here. The Rams had 302 yards of offense to the 49ers 191. The Rams had nearly 10 minutes more time possession, but the score does not read it like that. Like I said, the weather was bad. It was bad weather. It was a lot of rain. And I understand that sometimes passing the ball in rain is not the most effective way. But, yeah. And the Niners were 6-7 at the time of that, and they were probably hopeful of going to 500. But the Rams basically just, honestly, kind of politely said, no, your season's over. Like, they put him in a headlock, and they just went, shh, and just put the 49ers season to bed. Because there was no way. There was no way. And honestly, I'm sure there were probably some Niner fans out there probably thinking, I don't want to go to the playoffs. Matter of fact, I kind of just I want the season to end. I'm done. I just want the season to end and I can move on to something else. I just want the season to end. And I kind of felt like this was the way of politely them saying, your season's over. Your MVP, I was very close to giving it to the Niner fans because they went through a lot of very weird matchups and very weird situations. But then I look at the stats, because sometimes looking through stats help me kind of get a better picture on it. It's like paying attention to the construction worker who build the house. You're thinking, wow, that one guy did the carpentry, the guy did the welding, the guy did the plumbing, the guy did all that. You start appreciating, wow, the house is a lot better because the foundation, the workers were great. And there was one man that, quite frankly, was that handyman that did it all. And that's why I'm giving it to Fred Warner, linebacker for the 49ers, as the MVP. Like I said, Fred Warner, when you go to the stats, he is 131 total tackles, 76 solo, by far, the biggest total. He played all 17 games, he had 1 sack, 7 pass defended, 2 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles. This is the epitome of bring your lunch pail to work and just do your job and then go home. Maybe he does something flashy, but the rest of the time he is just doing fundamentals. He is doing perfectional scheme, execution, and doing his job. And his stats were in so many different categories of acknowledgement that I couldn't help but feel like when the season was looking bleak, he didn't quit. Now, I'm sure him doing it solo because Greenlaw wasn't there and having like a secondary number linebacker to help him out was not really the strength that he wanted to, but he still put on the cape and went solo if he had to. So to me, Fred Warner is the 49ers MVP because he did his job, and he did it not with flair, but with consistency and great technique. That's who I believe is your MVP. The draft, guys, because I'm thinking of protection of Brock Purdy, because at the time of this recording, he has not been paid. Don't know how. I don't know what's going to happen. But if somebody get Will Campbell just so happens to just fall in your lap, get him. I'm not going to say, or maybe trade up to get him. This could be a potential trade. if they want to protect him. I mean, Williams is kind of getting old in the offensive line, so Will Campbell, unless the Bears say F you and take him. Next, I'll probably go with James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. I'm getting mixed reports about him. I feel like he is so athletic, but some people said like he's kind of like the Jadeveon Clowney. Like he's so athletic, but then he goes to the NFL and hasn't really doesn't show anything. So you kind of feel like, oh, really? And then some people say like he's like James JPP from South Florida. Very much, you know, kind of like quietly being great, but he's always consistently, and he's actually probably has a more bigger upside than you expect, and he's going to showcase that. So I'm getting that vibe. And then I'm going back to offensive line with Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State. In case Campbell's not there, then you go the other offensive tackle. Biggest thing is because if you're going to invest in Brock Purdy, especially give him the big bucks, I'm not going to criticize the money thing because whatever. Get your bread, get your bread. But you probably want to protect him. So get that insurance policy. If you trade for Will Campbell, get him. If Josh Simmons is there from Ohio State, get him. Either way, you need to get him. I just realized I skipped a grade. So we're doing it at the end of the video. The 49ers grade is a failed. It failed. It failed, honestly, on the grounds of just injuries. This is a case of it wasn't bad coaching. It wasn't so much bad play. It was just injuries plagued them, and the Niners kind of proved that they cannot overcome with the notion of next man up, even though they were successful with the running back category, surprisingly enough. It was just, you know, Brandon Ayuk got hurt after he finally got paid. So it's like, what the hell? Ricky was MIA for most of the team because he got shot. And some of the players that did their jobs well, for whatever reason, it just the loss to the Cardinals by 1 point at home. It just felt like what? It just felt like there was something off with the Niners, whether it's voodoo magic or just, you know, maybe it was just that time of year where basically, you know, this is the year where teams that were great, you know, fall off for some reason. But the question is, will they recover for the next season? We'll find out. I can't help but feel like the NFC West will be competitive more than not. The question will be how much so. Everyone's going to have 9 wins, or everyone's going to have like, you know, double-digit wins, and then the Niners will be there at 7 and 12, whatever, or 7. You know what I mean? I can't think of a score for 7-10. Thank you, 7 and 10. So that's the 49ers, and that's the season where it is. It's failed, and it's not really their fault, except it is. So that's the 49ers. Season's over. Done's that. Let's go down to the teams that were a little bit more competitive, and we're gonna go. And we always give the division winners, you know, the last bow. So next time we'll be talking about the people of Seattle, as they made some very ballsy moves, and kind of respect that. But we'll talk about them soon enough. So until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.